Dangerous sex offender requiring confinement means a person who is a detained sex offender who is suffering from a mental abnormality that basically predisposes the person to commit sex offenses. And the phrasing that they use is this: involving such a strong predisposition to commit sex offenses and such an inability to control the behavior that the person is likely to be a danger to others and commit sex offenses if not confined in a secure treatment facility. Okay, so the keys are inability, mental abnormality, danger to others, and will, basically they will commit sex offenses if they're not confined in a secure facility. And again, this is people that serve their time already. Dangerous sex offender requiring confinement means a person who is already a detained sex offender suffering from a mental abnormality and such an inability to control the behavior that the person is likely to commit sex offenses and likely to be a danger to others. First, it's a detained sex offender, mental abnormality involving such predisposition to commit sex offenses that they're likely to be a danger to others and commit sex offenses if they're not confined to a secure treatment facility. All right, now comparing that to detained sex offender. Now, what is a detained sex offender? Because you can't have a dangerous sex offender without it being first a detained sex offender. Detained sex offender means a person who is in the care, custody, control of an agency with jurisdiction. So, person who's in the care, custody, and control of either the Office of Mental Health, the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, or the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities, and the agency responsible for supervising or releasing such person, and can include one of those things. But it could, I guess, also be more than one of those three items. With respect to a sex offense or a designated felony, in that the person is either one convicted sex offender and is currently serving a sentence for, or is on parole supervision or post-release supervision for the sex offense. Two is a person. Okay, so detained sex offender means a person that's in the care, custody, and control of an agency with jurisdiction. So, person who's in the care, custody, and control of either the Office of Mental Health, the Department of Corrections and Community Supervision, or the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities, and the agency responsible for supervising or releasing such person, and can include one of those things. But it could, I guess, also be more than one of those three items. So, it's that person with respect to a sex offense or a designated felony, in that the person is either one convicted sex offender and is currently serving a sentence for, or is on parole supervision or post-release supervision for the sex offense. Two, a person charged with a sex offense who's been basically determined to be an incapacitated person pursuant to CPL 730. Three, a person charged with a sex offense who has been found not responsible by reason of mental disease or defect. Four, a person who stands convicted of a designated felony that was sexually motivated. So it can't just be a designated felony. It has to be a designated felony that's listed in those things that was sexually motivated. So you can't just kill somebody. You have to kill somebody and have it get you turned on. It has to be sexually motivated, designated felony. And confined prior to the date of this article. Mental abnormality means a congenital or acquired condition, disease, or disorder that affects the emotional, cognitive, and volitional capacity of a person in a manner that predisposes her or him to the commission of conduct constituting a sex offense. Results in the person having serious difficulty controlling the behavior. sex offender requiring civil management means a detained sex offender who suffers from a mental abnormality. That was sexually motivated and committed prior to the effective date of this article. So again, 4 says a person who stands convicted of a designated felony that was sexually motivated and committed prior to the effective date of this Article 10. 5, a person convicted of a sex offense who is or was at the time after September 1st, 2005, a patient in a hospital operated by the Office of Mental Health and who was admitted directly to such facility pursuant to Article 9 of this title or 402 correction law upon release or conditional release from a facility, correctional facility. Provided that the provisions of this article shall not be deemed to shorten or lengthen the time for which such person may be held. 6, a person who has been determined to be a sex offender requiring civil management pursuant to this article. Licensed psychologist means a person who is registered as a psychologist under 153 education law. Psychiatric examiner means a qualified psychologist or a licensed psychologist who has been designated to examine a person pursuant to this article. Such designee may, but need not be, an employee of the Office of Mental Health or the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities. So I'm going to be abbreviating the Department of Correctional Services as DOCS. DOCS. Related offenses include any offenses that are part of the same act or criminal transaction or prosecuted in the same criminal action or the basis of the orders of commitment received by the DOS in connection with an inmate's current term of incarceration. Release and released means release, conditional release, or discharge from confinement, from community supervision by DOS, or from an order of observation, commitment, recommitment, or retention. Respondent means a person referred to a case review team for evaluation, a person as to whom sex offender civil management petition has been recommended by a case review team and not yet filed, or filed by the Attorney General and not yet dismissed or sustained by procedures under this article. Secure treatment facility means a facility or a portion of a facility designated by commissioner and may include a facility on the grounds of a correctional facility for the purpose of providing care and treatment to the persons confined under this article and persons defined under paragraph 5 of sub G of the section. Personnel from these same agencies may provide security services, provided that such staff is adequately trained in security methods and so equipped risk or danger of escape. Sex offense means, in this Article 10, means an act or acts constituting 1, any felony in Article 130, including a sexually motivated felony. Aggravated patronizing a minor for prostitution in the first, second, and third degree. Incest in the second degree or first degree. A felony, attempt, or conspiracy to commit any of the foregoing offenses, or a designated felony that was sexually motivated and committed prior to the date of this article. Sex offender requiring civil management means a detained sex offender who suffers from a mental abnormality. A sex offender requiring civil management can, as determined by procedures set forth in this article, be 1, a dangerous sex offender requiring confinement, or 2, a sex offender requiring strict and intensive supervision. Sex offender requiring civil management means dangerous sex offender requiring confinement or a sex offender requiring strict and intensive supervision. Sex offender requiring strict and intensive supervision means a sex offender who is detained, who suffers from a mental abnormality, but is not a dangerous sex offender requiring confinement. Sexually motivated means the act or acts constituting a designated felony were committed in whole or in substantial part for the purpose of sexual gratification of the actor. Again, sexually motivated means the act or acts constituting a designated felony committed in whole or in part for the purpose of the sexual gratification of the actor. 10.05 Notice and case review. When it appears to an agency having jurisdiction that a person who may be a detained sex offender is nearing an anticipated release from confinement, the agency shall give notice of that fact to who? 1. The Attorney General. 2. The Commissioner of Mental Health. So the agency is giving notice to those two. It's the Attorney General and the Commissioner of Mental Health. When it appears to the Department of DOS that a person who may be a detained sex offender is nearing anticipated release from community supervision, the agency may give such notice. The agency with jurisdiction shall at least 120 days prior to the person's anticipated release. Again, the agency shall seek to give such notice 120 days prior to the person's anticipated release. Again, the agency shall seek to give such notice 120 days prior to the person's anticipated release. But failure to give such notice within that period of time, or at all, shall not affect the validity of such notice or any subsequent action, including the filing of a sex offender civil management petition. If the person is referred to a case review team, notice of the referral shall be provided to the respondent. Upon such referral, the case review team shall review relevant records, including those described in sub C and D, so they shall review the records and they may arrange for a psychiatric examination of the respondent. Based on the review and assessment of the information, the case review team shall consider whether the respondent is a sex offender requiring civil management.